a self-use, maybe somebody having a small company or a company who wants to have their office in city center. That is
Right.
B2B. One is B2C. So you selling it to investors.
Investors, yeah.
And one is the lessee.
Right.
So some company wanting to come here and operate on rent or lease. What is the concept of boutique office? Being an architect, you tell me what is IGBC. You have always had a presence in Shivajinagar. Your head office is in Shivajinagar. So what is your take on Shivajinagar?
So I think Shivajinagar is a historic location as far as Pune is concerned. It's one of its oldest and strongest micro markets. You will have crossed that road for sure, not once, at least twice.
And what metro to Pune can be what locals are for Mumbai. Hello Upscale people, I am Salmanshaikh, and in today's video, we are diving headfirst in the transformation of Pune's real estate. And we have got a visionary guest who's been crafting spaces that redefine the game. We will get a better understanding of what an IGBC certification means and the potential of commercial real estate in Shivaji Nagar Pune. So let's invite Anand Naiknavare, the head of business process at Naiknavare Developers, an architect and developer of 7 Business Square, to share his thoughts. Let us welcome Anand. I think we should start with understanding the project.
Sure. So 7 Business Square is actually a very interesting project because it's located on a very small plot. When you say small plot, of course, it's owing to its city-centric location. It's about 26,000 square feet. So on a 26,000 square feet, we've been able to really optimize the design quite a bit and be able to provide a lot of the services, amenities that a much larger plot would actually have. So I think from that point of view, the project land is small, but we've been able to optimize it and put together this 15-floored building there. The other very key consideration is, of course, the fact that it's on this arterial road which connects the east and the west, and the fact that it is in Shivaji Nagar. The third consideration is, according to me, is the actual view, right, of the city from both sides, both the city side view as well as the agriculture college view. Now, as you can imagine, that natural capital that you get right in front of your office space is a lifelong asset for somebody who owns an office in 7 Business Square. These kind of locations are dream-worthy for developers, and I'm very fortunate
I have been
to have
on the 12th floor,
right,
and you get a view to buy for.
That's right. That's
I
right.
have had that view.
That's right.
So 26,000 square feet is the plot area, city center, and 15 floors. What is the size of the project? Total size of the project?
So it's about 1.5 lakh square foot, and there within the 15 floors also there are multiple configurations for offices.
Talking about the configuration, what is boutique office? What is the concept of boutique office?
Right. So boutique offices, I think, if we understand how commercial spaces have evolved in Pune, we started off with having very little residential stock in the city. When residential came about, we used to have this sort of hybrid residential commercial offices that consultants and professional office users would consider, where in a residential complex they would also operate their offices. From there,
for a working professional consultants, it is
for
allowed,
a working professional, it is allowed also within the rules.
Few consultants,
that's right.
Few segments,
that's right. So professional offices
are allowed, doctors are allowed,
absolutely,
to be operated from a residential.
That's right. But if you look at the kind of advantages you get in that setup versus a fully equipped commercial building, the address in itself elevates your business stature, the kind of people that you attract. I've seen this in a lot of our other commercial buildings, that when say a doctor has moved from a location to this building, the kind of clientele that he starts to get, or she starts to get in this case, it just changes drastically, So they are able to attract a better strata of customer. They are able to get a more established consumer walking through their doors. And I think these are very important considerations when they are actually choosing a commercial venue for their operations. So boutique offices in itself, by the suggestion of the word, is small format offices. So these small format offices are in 7 Business Square, complemented by a lot of amenities. We've got a lot of business centric amenities like a large business center, a lounge, a very large cafeteria space which has a spectacular view of the city, where their employees can go. So when you look at the employee welfare kind of a situation, you get the top of the line services for your staff, which also boosts their productivity. So when you look at these kind of advantages, of course, ample parking space available both for them, the owners, as well as the staff who will be working in the complex. Security is assured, so there is no issue of any security lapses at all in such buildings. So I think this is what constitutes all the various aspects of Seven
Can we
Business Square.
break this down? I mean, when you said boutique offices is
Yeah.
the sizes,
Yes.
the business lounge, business.
There's a lounge. There's a business
lounge,
center.
There's a business center.
Yes.
So can you explain a little about the size?
Sure. Sure.
What is the smallest size in 7 Business Square as a boutique office?
Absolutely.
What is the floor plate?
Yeah.
Business lounge is on every floor. Is there a dedicated floor for the business center and the
Yes.
business lounge?
Yes.
Can you explain that?
Sure. So we've got about we start our sizes from 900 square feet of carpet, and from there on we move on, almost reaching 2000, 2500 as well.
Okay.
So this range, right, and also people have the choice of combining.
I have seen
within
your
the
layout.
grid.
I have seen your layout.
Yeah.
You can make it one
That's
unit
right.
also.
That's right. So people have the choice of amalgamating 2 offices together to have a larger floor plate. So it's really, depending on what the consumer wants and basis their need, we're able to customize the floor plate quite well.
Okay. And the business lounge.
Right. So the business lounge, for example, is a large conferencing facility. So sometimes when you look at the nature of boutique offices, they aren't able to have large meetings. Because the spaces are small.
For a 900 square feet carpet,
right,
and 15 people team, where will they make a?
Where can they get together?
Yeah.
So what we do is that we'll have a 20 seater conferencing facility available for them.
You have dedicated that for the building.
That's right, and that's on the 12th floor. Then we also on the 15th floor will have this lounge, where it's a slightly more informal setting where people can get together. Maybe they can celebrate successes.
Breakout area.
That's right. Breakout area is a very common thing. We're also offering a yoga space. So these are all things that are very, very complementary to business activities.
So a workplace is not a workplace anymore.
That's right.
A workplace, there is a lot of well-being added to the workplace.
Correct.
Like you said, it is a location where people operated from a residential building also. So for a doctor, maybe it is permitted, it is allowed, it is legal to be operational, but
it's not ideal.
It is not ideal.
When
you come to a commercial building, or me going to a commercial building, I am going with a mindset of going to a commercial place.
That's right.
And not passing through a residential area, somebody is cooking.
That's right.
Kids are playing.
The users are all aligned.
Can be anything.
That's right.
Can be anything.
Correct.
But when I'm going to a commercial building, if it is not a professional, let's say if it is not a doctor, it's some company office, some logistics company, IT company, transport company, anything. Yeah. And the location is as such where you reach any location of Pune in 15 kilometers.
That's
be
right.
It Chinchwad,
that's right.
Be it Warje, be it Katraj, be it Baner,
go through all of
Waguli.
These places. Yeah.
So your location is the most city center location of Pune.
That's right. So I think that advantage in itself, will transform a office buyer's experience of business altogether. So the address is a very powerful thing when we talk about businesses. And here we're able to offer that to the buyer.
And like you said, that road, Ganesh Hind Road, that connects East and West Pune.
That's right.
So somebody in some point of lifetime must have crossed that road.
Absolutely. I think it's safe to say that if you come to Pune, you will have crossed that road for sure, not once, at least twice.
Which makes that location super mature.
Yes. So the location in itself, like you said, is super mature from that point of view. And then comes the conversation of leases, right? It also then has a very strong resistance towards lower vacancy rates. You'll always have strong vacancy. You'll always
So
have a strong occupancy.
Let us talk about this in three different aspects.
Yes.
So one is B2B. So a self-use, maybe somebody having a small company or a company who wants to have their office in city center. That is
Right.
B2B. One is B2C. So you selling it to investors.
Investors, yeah.
And one is the lessee.
Right.
So some company wanting to come here and operate on rent or lease. So we will talk about that.
All three segments.
All three.
Sure. So basically, I think for an end user, the conversation is very obvious, because you're one, working out of the city, right? And that in itself allows you to have a much better labor pool. When I'm talking about a labor pool, I'm talking about qualified talent, right? Qualified talent walks through your doors easier because the location is super accessible.
The feasibility also for the public transport is very good.
Correct. So there comes the conversation of the metro.
How far is the metro station from here?
It's very close by. It's meaning you can walk to it even,
Okay,
literally.
So 200-300 meters?
Yeah, 200-300
I think
meters
it is
the
right
location.
Opposite to E Square.
That's right. That's
right opposite to E Square.
Correct. So if you have an appetite for walking, it's hop, skip, and
meters.
jump.
Hop,
Right?
skip, and jump.
So I think from that point of view, you will attract better staff, right? You will have more qualified staff. You will have the ease of the convenience with you attracting qualified staff. Also, you will attract the right kind of target audience, because the location in itself is mature within the city, both from a residential standpoint, right, as well as now from the other bits of the ecosystem that are required for the business to thrive. So from that point of view, the end user conversation is very straightforward. When you look at an investor, right?
So end user, what is the percent? I mean, you are almost sold out.
Yes.
So what is the percentage of end user in your building?
I would say as of now, it's 50-50. Right?
Good.
So 50% of the people are end users and 50% of them are investors. So coming to the next topic, which is really the investors, right? We see all kinds of investors, people buying early, people buying when the construction is at an advanced stage.
Everybody has their own thought process. Somebody is super excited, comfortable buying at an early stage, excavation stage.
Right.
And some people are very they have an understanding, we will buy only when it is ready.
Correct. Everybody has their preferences in this, because they have their own experiences backing those preferences. Definitely. So I think the investor who buys early, of course, he sees a substantial markup in his returns. But even the investor who buys at a mature stage in the construction process, I think, owing to the super mature location, he will always be able to get a really good annuity from any lease deed that he does over here. So because vacancy rates will always be under tight control, there's a lot of demand for tenants. The risks that he runs, right? He might be paying a slight markup compared to a far off location, but he will be mitigating his risks to a large extent.
No, I think paying a markup also gets you a markup on the rental.
That's right.
So if you are at an X price in Shivajinagar and Y price in Baner, you will get a rent for Baner at Baner price.
At Baner price.
And you will get a rent of Shivajinagar in Shivajinagar at Shivajinagar price.
Correct.
So I mean, I think the investors make it too big in their head.
Yes.
At 5 crore rupees, I can have so much of property or so
much area
in Shivajinagar or Baner. Baner, I'll get a bigger chunk or a bigger space.
Right.
But ROI will come down to
the same eventually, virtually.
Yeah.
It does come down to the same. But I think the vacancy rate conversation is very important.
For the super mature
location is an important consideration.
Yes. So because I think today Baner Walewadi is mostly driven by tech.
Right.
Industrials,
logistics.
Logistic companies are there because of the Mumbai-Bangalore highway connectivity to
the Mumbai-Pune corridor.
Auto cluster. But Shivajinagar, all kinds of business.
Yes. You'll have a more diverse spectrum of businesses coming to a location like this. You will have, of course, a lot of doctors, a lot of professionals, a lot of consultants. You also have a lot of entrepreneurs, some startups, interestingly as well, we're seeing. We have a florist. So you have the whole cross section of people who are trying to make cheese out of this location. I think it's also an important conversation to see how this building performs for the lessee.
Yes.
And I think the lessee conversation, which is key here. We've got a lot of these amenities that complement, of course, the users of the building, but we've designed the building also with IGBC in mind, which is the Indian Green Building Council.
Yes. Being an architect, you tell me, what is IGBC?
So I think the conversation with IGBC is now actually starting to gain a lot of momentum.
Yes.
It's the next big thing in should be at least in every developer's portfolio. Green building certifications, of course, abroad they're a must. It's very much built into the economy. There's tax concessions. There's a lot of things happening. We're seeing some of that in India as well now, right? Where you do get more FSI if you have a certification. So that's the commercial side of things.
Mm-hmm.
But on the performative side of things, you're talking about the well-being of the user, right? You're talking also about acoustic conditioning. You're talking also of the passive energy efficiency that the design is able to account for, or active energy mechanisms like photovoltaic cells,
So
or the
if
sewage
a
treatment
layman
plants.
has to understand,
Right.
Explaining it to a layman, the end user or investor or even the lessee,
Yes.
how would you explain
It
IGBC?
improves the actual experience of the building.
Okay.
And I think that's something that is a very big takeaway, while also bringing in a lot of advantages to the environment we live in, right? So I think both sides of the story are very important. And while we talk about low emissivity glass, for example, it really helps you to reduce the solar radiation that's coming into your office space. So the kind of energy that your HVAC systems, air conditioning systems will consume will be a lot lower than a regular building. So another way that we have also been able to manage the conversation of energy in the
Hence,
building.
you have that.
We also have the
lures,
lures. I was just
mesh,
coming to that. So we've also been able to, the whole design concept and the geometry of the building has vertical fins.
Fins.
Right. So those fins actually act as solar radiation protectors. So whenever on a hot summer day you do have a lot of heat coming in, this will prohibit or limit the intake of heat.
Okay.
And that has a substantial impact on the actual energy bill that the end user ends up paying. So I think these are some considerations.
AC cost will go down.
AC costs will go down. So these are some of the things that are very important to consider when you're talking about IGBC.
So this is one aspect of IGBC.
Right.
To the whole project, is there anything else?
Yes, I think IGBC, if you look at it, just by the kind of materials you also put in, the kind of paints you apply, they have a certain grade of paint that you need to be working with for you to be able to gain that accreditation. So I think these are also some smaller but definitely tangible advantages that you see when you talk about the IGBC rating.
Parking is always a problem in city center.
Right.
Shivajinagar. A place like Shivajinagar. How did you solve that problem?
So parking, of course, was one of the major considerations when we were designing. Given the size of the plot, it was a real challenge to sort out. But what we have been able to do is that we went, of course, we have a 3-4 level basement here. So that entire volume, we've retrofitted it with 2 parking towers underneath, right? So we've got these, we've used the volume in the best way possible so that we could fit the most number of cars. We also have another level which is for scooters. We've got scooter levels as well within the parking, and we've got scooter lifts planned for a few of the levels. And then we've also got another level which is for visitors. Okay. So all in all, if you look at it, because it's not only the private office and its goers that are needing to park their vehicles, it's also the people who are coming there to visit these offices. So we've been able to provide ample parking, diverse parking, and still within a small footprint. Of course, there is the issue of the onslaught of electrical vehicles becoming a norm. So a lot of the parking bays are retrofitted with this EV charging points. So that also becomes an important consideration. In locations that are so city-centric, it's quite difficult usually to have ample parking, but we've been able to manage
So
that.
EV charging is the next big thing.
That's right.
So it is a must.
It is a must.
It is a
Absolute
must. Today we think that as a luxury, but
Yeah.
tomorrow,
It's
maybe
going to
5
become the
years down the
norm.
line, the way Nitin Gadkari sir is
Yes.
going ahead, I think
Propelling that whole
in 5 years,
conversation.
10 years, we will be all EV.
That's right.
So you have 4 level of parking.
That's right.
So is there a car lift, vehicle lift, or a ramp?
So it's an interesting combination of the two. We've got a large ramp going all the way down, where we also have the ramp servicing the scooter lift as well as the
So you
car lift.
also have a lift, vehicle lift, as well as a ramp.
That's right. So we don't have a car lift, we have a scooter lift.
Scooter lift.
Right.
Okay.
And the scooter levels are also given access to the ramp.
Okay.
So you have a combination of the two, right?
Very
because
good.
then in peak hours,
Operationally, it is very difficult.
it's very important to manage the peak hour flow.
Everybody will come on the same time,
That's
time
right.
bracket, time frame,
That's right.
and leave on the same time.
Correct.
So operationally, it becomes a very
Correct. Which is why we thought of having introducing both ideas here, so that operationally the facility management becomes very convenient and comfortable for the users.
Almost everyone is late to office.
Yes.
And everybody is irritated. I mean, that irritation and anxiety of waiting, left, that is a lot of
absolutely
pain. So when you have a combination of a lift and the ramp, it is very good.
Correct.
So 26,000 square feet plot, 1.5 lakh square feet building in 15 floors.
Right.
Tell us more about the design.
Right. So the design, I think we were contemplating what to do there, and we went over a lot of iterations during COVID. But the one that really stuck is I have a personal architect, inspirational architect, who I'm very fond of his work. It's called Kengo Kuma from Japan. Okay. So inspired from his work came this idea of blurring the horizontal line of a floor plate, right? So we had a couple of boxes or couple of floors that were stacked together, and instead of identifying each floor as an individual, we made clusters of floors. Now each of those clusters has a unique idea of having these fins, right? So we've got these fins that stretch for the whole cluster height, and then we've got these bands that sort of encapsulate the whole building, right? But they are not straight. They're actually either tilted or they are, three-dimensional in nature. So what it does is that when you look at the building, it does not look like you have a horizontal line per se. You have a box of 2 floors, then you've got one of these bands, then you've got another 2 floors, then another band that comes across. So from that point of view, it's a very interesting design because it's not something that is very visible all the time. It's an unusual design to that extent. That's right. So we've tried to make it, we've tried to play with it a little bit.
The problem with Pune, it is becoming, the skyline is becoming similar.
Yeah.
You go anywhere.
It's not just a lot of glass. It's not
the
just
size
a lot.
changes, but the skyline is almost similar. Just the glass. Everybody wants to gloss.
We've tried to stay away from that a little bit and introduce a funky, interesting geometry to the whole skyline here.
And what about the service areas?
So service areas, largely they're put in the basement. We in fact had one of the most interesting substations. Yeah, we have a dry type below ground substations, which is one of the first of its kind in Pune.
Okay.
We've also got a sewage treatment plant. We've got all of those other services also planted in various areas. So the services are also well taken care of.
You have always had a presence in Shivajinagar. Your head office is in Shivajinagar. So what is your take on Shivajinagar? Let's talk about the 5 years behind and 5 years ahead.
So Shivajinagar, of course, I mean, it's a historic location.
So we can talk about commercial real estate or as a location, anything.
Sure. So I think Shivajinagar is a historic location as far as Pune is concerned. It's one of its oldest and strongest micro markets.
It's so big that it comes under 3 different pin codes.
Correct. So it's got 3 different pin codes. So you can understand its size as well as, the fact that it's one of the oldest neighborhoods in Pune also sort of brings about the fact that it's undergone a lot of development over the years. Now, what happens is that when you look at the last 5 years, while there has been a 5 to 7% growth annually, we can't really measure the whole growth because COVID was an anomaly that struck.
5 years,
right?
Yes.
So let's look at the future. Now, what happens is that most of Shivajinagar, right, quite a bit of it is actually under the TOD, which is the transit-oriented development.
Transit
TOD, oriented development.
What it
Oriented development. So TOD is a policy which has been enacted to boost the commute through the metro.
Okay.
So what it does is, it is a way to densify the entire region along the metro.
Okay.
So you need to have a certain specific number of units, right, around the metro if you're doing a residential complex. So what
I had heard that. I mean, you
Right.
cannot make more than 65 square meters of a
That's right.
residential
So
unit.
there is a limitation on the size, right? And that
Does it apply to the commercial?
no, it does not. No,
Okay.
it does not.
Okay.
But what it does is, it brings about a huge advantage for the commercial.
Yes.
Because over the years, you're going to see that more and more density is built along the metro lines, right? So that the entire metro project becomes
So when
economically
you say density,
viable.
is it commercial or residential?
It is
combined?
residential. So a lot of people will be living along the metro, so that they start to use the metro more and more. And that is the idea for mobility in a city. So when you are looking at this specific aspect, you have to understand that naturally, with more density, right, more organized density, I'll say, there is going to be a huge impact on the overall growth of that area. There'll be more takers for, you know, all the services that are being provided by the office entrepreneurs in this building, for example. So I think to that extent, we are safely within the 8 to 12% realm in the next few years, and perhaps even more so in the near future.
And what metro to Pune can be what locals are for Mumbai.
That's right. So it has the same potential to improve the overall mobility in the city. But of course, wherever you have the metro lines running, the density around those metro lines is going to be a significant growth driver for that area as a whole. So there we go.
Thank you, Anand, for taking the time to share your insights with us today. To our viewers who are looking for a commercial property for sale or rent in Shivaji Nagar, 7 Business Square is a place to be. Contact us on the number given on the screen for more details on sizes, prices, and availability.